would you cite as some of your musical influences?
I get a lot of guitar tapping techniques from Dave Knudsen from Minus the Bear. I've listened to a lot of Godspeed You Black Emperor, Zeros, Explosions in the Sky, stuff like that.
It's almost over, it's just begun. Don't overthink this, look in my eye. Don't be scared, don't be shy, come on in the waters.
Neat Nation, welcome back to the Droopy Whiskey Show.
Everyone, what is going on? It is Brian.
Neat Nation.
Everyone, what is going on? It is Brian. We are back.
Neat Nation, welcome back.
Everyone, what is going on? It is Brian.
Neat Nation, happy Thursday. 45 minutes ago, I literally felt awful. Literally, absolutely awful. I threw up even. We can talk about that in a minute, but I get just the process of getting in here, seeing the whiskey talk, playing that intro just gets me fired up. I'm super fired up right now.
It's a good
almost actually, it's a good Bob, no doubt. It's a jamming tune. It's a banger, as they say. I almost actually set up on my couch over there today because I'm like, gosh, I don't want to sit on this bar stool all night. But I actually set up and it looked awful, truly awful. So you know what? I'll gut it out for Nation here and sit up at the bar. So a lot of folks in the chat. So don't want to keep people waiting too long, but it's great to see you all. We got Coots, we got Ramage. Tom Lynch is not here. Our wrench extraordinaire.
It's fake Tom.
He is out. Yeah,
it's our chameleon. It's our Loki. It's our Loki in the chat, just making him known as anyone he wants to be.
That is Eric Sawyer. And yes, he's AKA Loveface, AKA Tom Lynch sub in tonight. So per usual, glad to have Tom here. Not Tom, Eric. We got Fred. OCD Bourbon Bar, Peter B, and many other names, both new and old. So welcome to this chat here. If you're new to the show, as we have many people, I think, who are jacked about this topic, we start with 2 bits before we get into the dealio. So give us like 15 minutes, and then we're gonna start picking apart this topic a little bit on why there seems to be a lot of bourbons missing currently. First, though, the way we start this show is, what are you drinking? Brian, what are you drinking tonight?
Yeah, I still have yet to pop open this Milwaukee County Stout that Eric Sawyer had sent over, and I also just popped up. If you all remember, a couple of streams ago, we had that dank blind where we were like, whatever this pour is, it's awesome, and it ended up being this Driftless Glen pick, the thing that's triggering our going to Driftless Glen to find our own,
which I'm now in touch with them.
Is it? This is what I've got poured in my glass. So, popping that, getting a little bit of sipples out of that.
Fire.
I don't think people call them that. I don't think they call them that.
We're gonna call them that.
Probably
now.
Not.
I just poured a little bit of Elijah Craig batch A121.
Elijah Craig.
It is an underrated batch. C920 fire, B520 fire. B521 not as much goodly, generally speaking, compared to the other ones, but A121 is really, really nice. I'm feeling up A121. When I swallowed just now, I kind of hurt myself a little bit, so we'll see how the palate reacts. Like I said, I did up chuck. I think I had a beef tongue Reuben for lunch. My brother or my son, my 6-year-old had a stomach bug, and I may have just a little bit of that. I was feeling a little queasy after dinner, and I may have just had too much in the old system. So I'm a solid C right now, but I'm
Yikes.
turning up. So, by the time we hit 9 o'clock, I'll be roaring. Just got to clear the pipes here.
Man, everyone is in the chat tonight. Everyone's in the chat tonight.
I know. It's a good
Ryan,
turnout.
what's up?
Good
Tim,
turnout.
what is up? Andy, what is up?
Maddie
Regs,
Schwanda.
Jeff, a couple of folks I feel like I haven't seen before.
I know.
Image of thoughts.
Or people who
Welcome.
have been
Peter,
around,
what's up? OCD,
but not on the regular.
What's up? This is great. I'm loving it. Matt, what's up? Nicholas, how's it going?
Many shout outs. Jordan, I think he and I have been DMing a little bit. So Jordan, welcome in. System Trend, seen you before. Your Huckleberry, he's a regular. All right, Brian, new bottle pickups this week. Anything?
Yup.
What do we get?
So I'm actually gonna drop this. So if anyone tuned in last week, they saw that we were talking about roses, and we were talking about I was talking about making the 7th tier, right? And I'm plugging it here, letting everyone know I have made this channel another YouTube channel called the 7th tier.
Really?
And right now I've updated all the videos I've presently done here, and I am going to just continue to put reviews of stuff in there. I'm going to have playlists by recipe and just continue to archive tons of roses stuff. So, I say that because one of the bottles that I got was, again, this is not the OES V run that I've been talking about, but an older run from 2019 of these, this JE32 tier 6 OBSF run. So I got this one. It's a Benny's. Benny's picked 3 in this run, and this is one that's kind of hard to come by. But then my buddy also left me with 3 different Rosa samples. So 2 of them are in this RS24 OBSQ run, which some people probably have some bottles in their markets of. And then one is like a 2015 OESO. So all 3 of these are like, you basically see 3 videos. They're going to probably all drop next week.
Amazing.
For that.
I love this. I love this for you. I love this from you.
I will say too, again, I'm not assuming anyone's on Patreon, but we do have a Patreon for Insured Proof. And anybody who's at that 15 or higher tier, we had said that whenever I pop a new 4 Roses bottle video, I'm just going to randomly send 5 samples out. And I recorded it 2 weeks ago. I've yet to put it public. I thought I was going to do it today, but then this other bottle I grabbed came in. I did that instead. But the most recent bottle that I have opened is this Bourbon Pursuit Keggin bottle OESO.
Nice.
MW25. I have the video coming up for this soon. And I'm going to be doing a randomizer probably tomorrow for samples of this bottle.
Nice.
Which means you'll probably get another video drop. Andrew, this is the RS24 run of OBSQ. These were both tier 6s. But anyway, the other bottle that I picked up yesterday was the brand new Old Forester 117. So this is not the High Angel share. This is not the Warehouse K. This is an 18-month second finishing 1910. So and I dropped that video this morning. If no one saw. It is fun. It is fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I would love to grab one of those. I saw you could actually, you pinged us that in certain states you could order them to get shipped to your house.
Yep.
Granted, not Wisconsin, but if you did get one of those, you live in one of those states, good for you. I think you got one at the distillery. Is that correct? Downtown.
Yeah, I was the first person there yesterday morning.
Nice.
An hour before they opened, and I just kind of waited around a little bit, had my cup of coffee, sent out some messages to some folks, and then it opened up.
So working remotely, no big thing. Awesome,
big thing.
Good week.
Yeah, Johnny said Pursuit OESO pick finally dropped. Yeah, it released earlier this week, and they're shipping out. They sold out nearly immediately, as you would expect from some Roses stuff.
Yeah,
so
that happens. Definitely happens. I'm still on my freeze, my bourbon pause, which is good. It's good right now because Swing Nation fans, I'm headed to Scottsdale with the family March 8th. So if there are places in the Phoenix Scottsdale region, either for whiskey or for golf, that you recommend I stop at, or if you are in the Scottsdale area and you're like, hey, wouldn't it be fun if we played golf? Yeah, reach out to me, slide into my Instagram DMs, and let's chat it up. I'm going to play 2 rounds. That's the goal while I'm out there. And then just hang with the fam. We got a nice Airbnb, and the goal is just to soak up the sun and get out of the Milwaukee blueies, because it's rough. It's rough here right now, but looking forward to that. I mean, I went from like a 2 to a 9 once that got on the plan. So all the bourbon money is going to that trip right now, which is fine. I mean, to me, that's fair, because I've got all the bourbon I need and I don't have enough sunlight right now.
Yeah,
for sure. C. Davis says Trevor's Liquors in Scottsdale is legit. Johnny 5 says played TPC Stadium course. Yeah, but it's like $350. That's what's tough. There's some killer courses out in the Scottsdale region, and it's like the mecca for golf in the winter. So none of the courses are exactly cheap, but $350 is it's a lot. Why don't you tell us about that beer you're drinking?
I didn't pay attention. I didn't pay attention and cracked it as soon as you were talking. This is 12%.
Oh wow!
Man, it's so thick. I mean, it's a barrel aged. I don't know why I didn't think about that. So akin to the other barrel aged. It's Four Roses barrel aged. That's cool. Really sweet.
Yeah, it is cool.
Really mapley.
Nice.
Like this espresso kind of finish. It's good, but man, it took me by surprise where you're talking. I'm thinking of like sunlight and like golf, and all of a sudden I got hit by a rock. So that was intense.
It was absolutely blindsided.
Yeah, it was just insane. And I gotta go through. There's a couple other things I'm missing. I feel like I'm missing everything. This is crazy.
Well, yeah. So
Matt,
here's what you gotta accept.
Yeah,
you gotta accept you won't catch everything.
Yeah, but I want to try. Matt was asking if these drop and sell out one day. Going back to the 117s, I'm assuming they had 100 sets yesterday and 100 sets this morning. The main reason I'm curious is because I know there was some more Four Roses talk. Fred picked up some stuff, some rare tequila finish, and then Porkins was saying something. Where did it go? I missed what he was. Oh yeah, he asked about the run, and then dude, this is so boring. Yeah, Ben, sorry, that was a really interesting expression. Are you gonna share notes on the stout? Nah, man. What's up, Carlos? I'll you heard me talk about it. It's intense. Cool.
All right, so this
when are you going on that trip again?
Back to this March 8th, and then I'm there through the 14th. But anyway, I got to talk about Elijah Craig. It's caramely and oaky. The finish is a little drying, reminiscent of B521, not that level of drying. I had some nougat dark chocolate. The finish, though, it's really nice up front. Big sweetness, good viscosity, but then it vanishes, and it gets even a touch medicinal, a touch cough syrupy. Other pulls I've had of it recently I've been vibing on more, so it may be the residual stomach acid on the back of my tongue that's causing me some grief right now. So we'll try and purge that. I mean, right now I'm being on this whiskey, but I would have A-minused it the last couple of days because I've had some micro pours, but it's just not hitting quite as pure now. It is my first pour, so we'll see how it evolves. I might have a little bit more. I also have, who gave me this? I want to shout it out. I took a picture of it so I would remember and I would not embarrass myself. Jay Wyant sent me some Wild Turkey samples. The last two labels of Wild Turkey 101. So nothing crazy here, but the brand new, and I don't know which one is which, but the brand new label of Wild Turkey 101 and the one right before that, he said, they taste really different. I want you to taste them. And then he sent me a Russell's Reserve 10-year that was from 2015, 2016, he said. So nice. I'll probably get into these a little bit later, after we get through the topic. So that'll be fun. And then next week, this will be really exciting, squad. I'll tease next week, which will be right before my trip. But Porkins, total legend that he is, Andrew Beck, sent Brian and I a blind of 5 different whiskeys. And this one's going to be a little bit different. It's not the simple game where we taste them and try and guess what they are and who does better. It's actually a collaborative effort. This was a killer idea from Porkins because we're remote. He said, I'm going to give you 5 whiskeys, but they're not necessarily all the same. 2 of the whiskeys in my blind and 2 of the whiskeys in Brian's blind are the same, not necessarily the same numbers of the samples. And it's our job to try and figure out which two are
It's
correct.
like
which
it's like a
which
panic
ones are
room.
right.
Is it panic room? It's not a panic room. What is it called?
Escape
What are those
room.
rooms?
Escape room.
It's like an escape
room.
room.
Yeah. So we
A
just have
whiskey
to try
escape
and
room. Oh, that would
dial
be
in through.
that's moneymaker and just waiting
Yeah,
to
I agree
happen.
with you. The samples are good size. They're, I think 2 ounces, except for one of them's a little bit lower for me. So I think there's enough here to try and figure out. But I'm stoked to give that a try. Shout out Tom Harper. This is just very kind of you. Thanks, man.
Despite Eric with his Tom Lynch sub-in title, our good friend Tom Lynch is not in the chat tonight. He will be in Louisville tomorrow. So I'm hoping there's a lot of stuff he could pick up. There's a lot of things that are in queue to drop around Louisville, it seems like. So he could be, as you know, set up for success or set up for failure. So we'll see.
Oh, so OCD Bourbon Bar here. He's the dude. Sometimes I don't link up the names because the usernames change. But thank you, dude, for that blind. He said he effed up the label. It's Pure Dusty. So it was from 2005, 2006, not 2015, 2016. So this counts. This is going to be Dusty number 9 then. My goal was to do 20 legit Dusties over the course of the year. And this is going to qualify then. That's awesome. All right. You ready to get into the topic? Anything else we need to hit? We'll have plenty of time. I feel like this isn't going to be the longest topic ever. So we get a lot of time to chill and hang with Naish. So happy to field questions, get y'all's comments, want y'all to participate as we break this down. But let's introduce it. So, I mean, obviously, if you've been to a liquor store recently, which I have, just because I'm not buying doesn't mean I'm not looking. I like to be on the hunt for the boys, as it were. And there is a growing shortage of some staple brands. I wouldn't say there's any less bourbon on the shelf. And again, I'd like to hear from across the United States, what you all are seeing as well. But I'm here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And there's no less whiskey because I keep seeing new brands pop up. I'm seeing larger distribution for craft distillers. And every single day, I'm seeing another sourced whiskey, either from MGP or Dickel. Like, there's not a shortage of MGP out there. There's a shortage of aged MGP. That's for sure. But there's more and more stuff out there. But what we're not seeing is, and I put all 4 of them on here, and it'll be a surprise, but I'd like to hear what you guys aren't seeing as well. Eagle Rare is long gone. That's not news, right? I mean, we all know Eagle Rare is hard to get. I imagine it's based on what I've heard from folks, it's not easy to get anywhere. Henry McKenna, we all know Fred killed it, which isn't totally fair, but we're going to lay it at Fred's doorstep. Not Fred in the chat. He wouldn't do such a thing. But Fred Minnick, we like to give him grief. It won San Francisco Spirit Awards. Many people talked it up because it's a really solid whiskey and it's always been a great value. And now it's been hard to find for probably 4 years now, right? And about that. It's been an increasingly lengthy amount of time Henry McKenna has been vanishing. But what's been surprising is some of the value products, the understated ones, like a Rare Breed, and we'll start there, have started to go a little bit like AWOL. A little AWOL on the Rare Breed. Even Kentucky Spirit. The specialty wild turkey products in Wisconsin right now are nowhere to be found. The Russell's Reserve you can still get. Go figure. You can get the 10 and you get that single barrel. But Rare Breed and Kentucky Spirit are all of a sudden gone. What is your experience with these products, Brian? The wild turkey ones. Are they still available on the shelf down there?
Yeah, I think they are. I mean, to most of my knowledge, again, it's not something I particularly look for. I mean, the ones you mentioned prior to Rare Breed, I don't see. But Rare Breed, I feel like I still kind of see on the shelf. I'm actually really surprised with some of the stuff I'm seeing pop up here. A couple of people are talking about Grandad 114. Really intriguing.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't really shop for that one, but I haven't seen that one either. It just didn't bother
me. And again, I won't get too far ahead. I mean, I've got some other things that I've particularly noticed jump off the shelves here, but hit it hard. Hit us with what you got. Most recent memory, and I think people, I mean, this was still a couple years ago. This is before COVID, so a couple years ago. But I think people probably have in the forefront of their mind, at least people in Kentucky, when the Heaven Hill Bottled and Bond, which was like the bottom shelf pour, right? 6-year age stated, went away.
Yeah.
And you started to see, I never bought any up. As it was going away. But you would see stores,
the one I have.
You would see stores mark it up from $11 or $12, whatever it was, to $20 as it's on its way out. And still, I never grabbed any up. And then most recently, they have the green label 80 proof. And I think there's been conversations about whether it's disappearing or not, because it's gone through pulses where it's in the shops and then it's not. And I think it's been reassured by Heaven Hill. No, it's not going away. But we've definitely seen pockets where it'll be there and they'll have 1 bottle limits on it for the 80 proof green label bottom shelf. I think it's
Heaven Hill 90 proof.
Oh,
is it the 6-year? Yeah, it's 90.
I thought 90 it was
proof
80.
6-year. Yeah. It's not. There's the white label non-age dated Heaven Hill that is 80.
Well, either way, here or there, you're right. So 90, if it's 90 proof, then it's got like only 1 bottle. You can only buy 1 bottle in the store, and it's gone away. And then again, even some of these store picks and stuff that we talk about that everyone would probably widely say are unavailable. We've definitely had seasons over the years we've started to see them dry up more. But crazy. Yeah. I just even saw today which is kind of getting ahead of ourselves, but I saw it hits on a topic that we will probably get to. But I saw a store in Northern Kentucky called Revival. It's a vintage pour place, and they did a joint Old Scout pick with a group out of somewhere in Kentucky, Lexington area or something like that. And it was in a bottle I'd never seen before. And I'm like, well, now we're seeing glass.
It's a little fatter. Yeah, it's a little fatter. Yeah. I think they actually rebranded. But it may not have been volitional. So let's get into that for a little bit.
Yeah.
Why are all the bourbons disappearing? There's 2 reasons. Like, one of them is some of them are, they've moved to be allocated. They're hunted products. They're hoarded products. And that would include Eagle Rare and Henry McKenna. I see some people in the chat in Canada. Apparently, it's not a problem to get Eagle Rare. In Washington State, it's apparently not a problem to get Eagle Rare. You never get Eagle Rare here. You can't get it in Kentucky. I know that, just because those are kind of the places that I'm around. You can't get it in Texas. Wow. It used to be readily available there. And it's been harder to find for years, as has Henry McKenna, given that product's notoriety, even though the bottle is still hideous. Can we just all agree for a minute that Henry McKenna branding, some of the worst branding I've ever seen? Yeah, and it's significantly better than the Arts and Crafts Henry McKenna label that was in effect until, like early 2010s. Like, that was like 1992 branding. Somehow that made it until like past 2010. Go figure. Like, there's no logical explanation for that travesty. But then we have the other category. So there's the popularity allocation that would apply to Blanton's. That would apply to pretty much anything we rant and rave about on this show. But now we have this new category of stuff that people aren't really hoarding. Nobody I know is stocking up on Evan Williams single barrels, but they have gotten harder to find here, and they never were. They were, 12.
Give me a shout out in the chat if you have a case of JW Dant in your basement that you're just sitting on.
And then you got to go see a therapist. But Rare Breed and Kentucky Spirit, same bottle type, have also become much harder to find. And why is that? And people have already talked about it. You just alluded to it. Like, glass shortage has caused some significant problems. And some friends of ours over at Bourbon Pursuit, it was Kenny or Ryan just the other day, posted this glass shortage thing is a legitimate problem. And I don't know how much it's affected your business, Brian. I mean, we're obviously not in bourbon, but it's not just glass, right? It's pretty much every form of custom packaging, given supply chain issues. COVID shutdowns caused supply chain issues that we are nowhere near to being caught up on with. It's affecting things, like I said, like custom packaging, glassware, even things like janky goods. They're like container loads full of crappy Christmas gifts that are still just at ports or off ports. We ordered custom wrapping paper to use for our customers at Stone Creek Coffee. You can check us out at stonecreekcoffee.com. We didn't get it. We got it like 2 weeks ago, and it looks awesome, and we'll use it next year, but it was super late. And the bourbon demand hasn't slowed down, but I also don't think it's massively accelerating because we have some consumer issues right now happening with inflation. Our dollar is not going quite as far as we wanted it to be. Inflation of gas prices, grocery prices, like that's kind of hitting right now. I particularly feel that with kids. I'm sure you do as well, Brian. I'm sure many of us do. So there's probably a general tightening of the consumer belt that's happening. But these products are still missing. I'm going to attribute it. I'm going to go out on a limb. And I'd be happy to be proven wrong here, but I'm going to say in some of these more everyday drinker products, it's probably driven more by supply chain issues and less by like, oh, these are actually becoming allocated or these products are going away. Now I'll stop talking for a minute and look through the chat. I would like you to provide your keen insights as
there's just a couple things.
Mecca's your home base.
There's a couple things I want to point out from the chat. So Jimmy the Kid jumped in and said, what are the distillers doing with the whiskey while they wait for the glass? And then Chewy right under said, it's just going to lead to longer aged bourbon or new branding plastic bottles. It's interesting that those comments come back to back because I remember talking with Drew, not this Drew from Willett Drew, when they were working. Drew Colesbean.
I mean, I wish I was as cool as Drew. That'd be sick. I mean, that's the dream.
So when they still haven't released it yet, but when they were talking about doing their weeded product, an actual weeded bottled product, I remember talking to him when we thought it was initially coming out, and I remember him talking about wishing it was a little bit older prior to it bottling, but I don't think they were going to be waiting. Now that conversation took place before COVID, and so COVID was one of those things that was unfortunate timing, but I think he sat back and went, this business wise makes a good decision because it actually gave us over a year more of age on this product. Now, maybe even more than that because it still hasn't released to my knowledge. But going back into, I think in some cases, maybe in other places case, they could be toting it. They could be putting it in some sort of, they could be dumping it from the barrel to stop its aging. But somewhere where it's not degrading its quality while waiting to be bottled. It could be. I don't know for a fact because I don't know what they do behind the scenes in some of these distilleries. But it could be the case. And then again, as we've seen with some of them, or like what you mentioned with the Bourbon Pursuit guys, some of the big dogs, I don't think we're going to see as much of hiccups because they probably have bought a ton of supply of this glass, because they deal in volumes anyway. And if anything, maybe they had to slow the ramp of volume down to stretch the overall distribution. So, it might be harder for us as consumers to deduce exactly what's happening, not being able to know their business rhyme or reason. Like if we choke back to, let's say 3 cases per store instead of 6 cases per store over the course of a year, that's going to give us 2.5 years of runway instead of a year and 2 months worth of runway or something like that.
So looking at some of these glass bottle types, I do think that it does give us a bit of an indication in terms of what may be happening. Like I said, like going back to the wild turkey situation, what we see is that the rare breed and Kentucky Spirit, same bottle, are getting a little harder to find in certain areas, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Whereas the Russell's Reserves are different bottle type, and I'm seeing them both. Now, where was I going? Holy smokes! Oh, guys,
you're talking about the bottle. You're talking about the bottle that rare breed and that stuff's in. Were you talking about the glass? Were you talking about what you've noticed?
Hold on. Gosh. Yeah, so I mean, I'm certainly talking about how like the bottle type may be an indicator. Oh, yeah. So in certain cases, we see this with Smoke Wagon as well, is that they're using custom glassware. And with Smoke Wagon, they probably operate with much lower quantities given they're a much smaller entity. And so it's harder for them to keep up, or they order probably for what they need. And so if there's a problem with supply, it's going to set them back, which is why we ended up seeing, due to the shortage of amber glass, they did that release of uncut, unfiltered in the clear glass. And given that even their clear glass was custom, if there's any issues with supply and delivery with that or the amber, they're going to struggle to get product on a shelf, at least short term. Now, holy crap. I had it again and I lost it again. Why is this so difficult? This is embarrassing. Oh my gosh.
It is a little
deeply
bit
frustrated. I'm also trying to read the chat and I'm struggling right now. I had this really great, insightful thought that you guys would have, it would have been fantastic. You guys have never heard an insightful thought like this.
What I'm really curious to talk to the Pursuit guys. So I haven't caught up with them in a little bit, or when we've gotten together, we, we've done a couple of recordings, but we've yet to talk about, one of the things that we were going to talk about is, and they've mentioned it briefly, but they were taking the Pursuit series bottles that they've done, these the ones that look like Parker's Heritage bottles, and they were running out of this glass here, and they're working to transition everything over to the more rounded glasses, like these. And I remember us talking about, the concept for an episode was all the things that actually go behind how hard it is to go from this to this because of label sizes or all these types of things. But seeing their comments recently about glass makes me wonder, shoot, do I need to be asking these guys, like, are we having an even deeper glass issue? Are the round ones even more difficult to come by? Because it would be really interesting to hear them talk about doing it again. But that does sound like the kind of problems that they run into. So yeah, when I get some information about that, I'll try and report back, and two, we'll probably have a podcast episode recorded about it.
Yeah, so we couple of things. As a coffee company, plastic cups are kind of the same way. We would generally do plastic cold cups, but we've had to change the provider of our plastic cups just to keep serving our customers like 3 times. It's been annoying. It's the way it kind of goes right now, though, is because we have not only COVID caused distribution issues, but now we have global conflict. Oh. We have Russian sanctions. Guess who's in bed with Russia? China. Manufactures a lot of packaging and glassware. Freaking China. So and now based on my reading, I know that China's wanting to stay out of this thing as much as possible, but they're also totally in bed with Russia. And if Russia has sanctions, that's actually kind of good for China. It takes them out of the spotlight, and if
there's anybody from Russia in the chat, what's up? Go ahead and say what's up. What are you drinking?
Shout out Voldemort Putin. So with that, I don't think that's going to make matters better. It's only going to add further complexity in terms of shipping. And hopefully, it sucks for Ukraine. Really tough, bad situation. Don't want to joke about it, really. But hopefully it stays just contained to that. Given that Voldemort is a crazy person, I doubt that it will. I'm hopeful that it will, though, so it doesn't exacerbate the issues beyond bourbon and glassware, but the issues that the whole world is experiencing right now. 100% Pure Mustard says China will be in Taiwan soon. That also seems likely. It's not great. This is not great stuff. And it's going to have implications. So where I was going with the wild turkey stuff is I'm sure people are trying to acquire, lock in as much packaging as they possibly can so they don't have to change. But if we remain in this volatile state, we're likely going to have to look at some alternatives. And I think one of the reasons, now I'm remembering it's all coming back to me, one of the reasons that we probably have seen this issue with Rare Breed and Kentucky Spirit is that Rare Breed gets made in these mondo batches. And this is probably one of the reasons why it's going dry in certain areas and is available in other places, is that 116 point whatever batch that was out last, that was out for freaking years. I mean, years that was out. And so that batch must have been monstrous because we all were drinking it. We were moving through it. So they're probably getting ready for the next batch, which is maybe equally monstrous. And they need to have enough bottles of that to get it out. So I imagine that Turkey's, trying to acquire those in some form or fashion. But the small guys who are going to have less priority from these suppliers may have to seek out some alternative bottle methods. And I was chatting about this with my boy Matty Pletz earlier, who was the inspiration for this show topic, because he was like, what are they going to do if they can't get glassware, or a glassware that they can count on an ongoing basis? Like, are we going to see the addition of aluminum packaging? Are we going to see boxed packaging? Because Matt, who's a big wine guy, was telling me that some even high-end wines, because they kind of got to, they make it and then they got to deal with it. Like, when it's ready, you bottle that crap. You can't like leave it around. He said some folks are boxing high quality wines because what else are you going to do? And is there the chance, I'm just going to throw this out to you, throw this out to Nation, that we see more packaging that looks like still house stuff or something like a boxed whiskey? Could it happen? I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to pick. I mean, a boxed whiskey is it's gonna eat up that packaging. I mean, I'm trying to wrap my head around what exactly will go in. The only thing I think about is what I think Michael put up in here is things just going back to plastic. Yeah. I mean, so go back to the plastic containers, like we've seen, instead of the like the boxed wines, I could see a little bit more. Sorry, I'm distracted by this. I'm trying to talk with with Wayne about bottle sizes and how much they hold in mLs, which could be a more loaded question than what we're talking about in general. But the one thing that I have the hardest time wrapping my brain around is the weight of whiskey versus the measurement out of whiskey, because I like to try and always measure stuff out in weight.
Grams.
Knowing that you can't do that because all different proofs will weigh different for their measurements, and it's the calculation blows my mind. It's off topic, doesn't matter. Let's go on. So I mean, dude, I don't even know. I mean, to be completely honest, Drew, everything we're talking about is so logistical, and knowing the stuff that people drink willingly that like I would think isn't even like that great. I'm pretty sure the form of which the mean of which something is delivered. What would be the delivery? Means of which something is delivered in is not what's going to stop somebody from consuming it. You could go back to people bringing their tins into the dispensary.
Let's do it.
Dispensary to fill it up and take it home, and people will be like, "Wow, this is so retro. I'm digging this." It sounds like something Good Times
hipster whiskey.
Yeah.
Or Old Tub. I think that's the story behind.
Shout out to Bourbon Panda or whatever his name is. Bourbon Santa. That's it.
Which I still haven't watched.
Good Times would do.
Yeah. So I mean, like going back to this topic, and happy again to kind of dig through the questions a little bit, and like we can hypothesize a little bit more about packaging options, but. I do think that the vast majority of the standard line bourbons, like some beam stuff, has been a little bit harder to find on the shelf. Not that I'm looking, but I'm saying like I'm seeing gaps on the shelf. I'm seeing a lot less of the big brands. Normally they take up this much shelf space, and maybe they're down to this much shelf space. I'm seeing some shortages of the Old Forester products makers, and some of that may be like. Also a product of just harder to get the products from Kentucky out, to different states. So some states may, for whatever reason, deliveries are going more smoothly there. The 3-tier logistics may be going more smoothly, but staffing, trucks, chassis, and whatnot can all impact delivery in different locales. It could be what would also impact some spotty shelves in certain areas.
But again, it's not because there's not a I mean, there both isn't an abundance of whiskey and is at the same time, right? The biggest problem for distillers or non-producing distillers is the amount of readily available whiskey. That's a challenge right now. But the amount of whiskey in total is abundant. And so, there is a lot out there, but I think it's harder maybe to see that there are issues when there's always presently some brand who's able to take shelf space away. And, it's easier to mask some of the issues.
Because the sheer quantity of different products right now is unbelievable. Even some of the local stores that I'm into around here, I go in and there's a new product on the shelf every single week, which is almost annoying. Like, I'm like, oh great, another mediocre bourbon. Like, and you. So here's another concern. I'm going to pivot. I'm going to take a hard left, and we can either follow this trail or we can not. But I'm inspired by Nicholas Feltham's thing here, whiskey in glass beer bottles, 6-pack. That does kind of sound cool. But my question is, given the fact that we're seeing logistics problems impacting production and distribution, given the fact that we are seeing an unbelievable amount of American whiskey SKUs on the shelf, I'm gonna like I said, hard left here. Are we in for what is happening in craft beer? And the shuttering, are we about to start seeing now the shuttering of the small guys who are struggling to hack it, given the amount of money they have tied up in inventory and the fact that if they struggle to get consistent bottles and labels, the distribution problem is just going to be worse for them? Is this going to be the thing that breaks the back? Because I would have, not that I'm like an economics genius, but it's the cyclical nature of booming industries. Is they boom and they boom and they boom, then the big guys eat the little guys. That's what's happened in craft beer, and that's what will happen in American whiskey, given the volume of production. Is like right now, production has accelerated so greatly. I can't imagine demand is going to keep up when all this juice actually comes to maturity, fruition.
I'd have to ask who, if that's the case, who would you say is presently on the chopping block? Because it's my thought. Because it's my thought that people that we see right now are probably relatively established enough that they're going to make it through. The other question I have, or the other thought that I have, is that the ones that don't make it through, we probably wouldn't think about anymore because there will be new ones who come back, who come on, right? It's the same thing that we see during COVID, right? Businesses that fail, there's a lot of businesses that failed during COVID, but more businesses you're seeing start now and flourish because people are wanting to patron, they're wanting to go there. And it seems unfair a little bit that people who were there from the beginning, unfortunately, were put in a circumstance to fail, and new ones are put in a position to succeed stronger. And so,
it depends.
Anyway, but let's back up. Let's go back to that question that I asked. Who do you think would be the small guys that could potentially fold? I mean, it's like, it's not Blue Run. It's not Greenbrier.
Let's hold on just a minute, because it not necessarily. So you said if some fail, new ones will come in. I totally disagree. Like Milwaukee was, ground zero for the craft beer revolution, and we're not seeing new breweries open here. At least not nearly at the rate that they were, and we are seeing them kind of fall off on the regular.
I don't think breweries are the same thing as whiskey. I think
it's worse. It's worse in craft whiskey because they're sitting on so much inventory that they have to pay taxes on and sell. Like there's a ton of money, and eventually these investors are going to want to get their money back.
It starts growing money the minute it touches the wood, and it grows every single day from then on. You're completely as long as you pay for the start, you're guaranteed the money.
No. I know why you're saying that, because we just met with people who they're brokering. We didn't meet with them to broker barrels ourselves, but we were around people trading barrels. And that is true if you're making decent distillate in Kentucky or Indiana, probably. You're guaranteed, if you make that stuff, that it's going to be worth something to a particular market for now. And that market is people developing bourbon brands. That's because everybody's still banking on the market going up, which it is currently against the products that are available on the shelf right now. But when all this Bardstown Bourbon Company stuff starts dropping at 6 years, when OZ Tyler finally gets their crap together, and when all these small distilleries who are installing their new stills start cranking out and their stuff is dropping at 8 years, is there still going to be this massive demand for new products? Are all these barrels that are aging going to maintain the value that they have right now? And that's to be seen. And I'm not saying they're not, but I also watched The Big Short 8 times.
Right, but it's
I know that bubbles happen.
It's a different question because the first question I asked, which is like who will make it, and I'm not disagreeing with your point. It is 100% valid and it's true. It just brings up a second point that we can pin for later or a different topic. Everyone who's got stuff laying down now, all of the tactics and the things that are happening now are going. You should change the topic of the show to why are all the bourbons completely different than they were 7 years ago? Because everything that's taking place now, and to be honest, and all these craft distillers are telling you specific things that they're doing to make it taste different, but we're still tasting it young. So in 5 to 7 years, what the bourbon market looks like, I don't think the bubble is going to pop, but I think the bourbon market is going to be a completely different bourbon market. I think that we are going to start seeing less Kentucky whiskey than we see like Tennessee whiskey, then we see some other out-of-state whiskey. And I don't think it's going to be as big of a deal about that. I just think there's trends that are present right now that are going to be different. And that's why I say it's a little turn of a topic. But in term, it's just another turn. And I don't want to keep going down these turns.
No, it's fine. I'm going to throw a couple more hypotheticals out here, though. Is like, let's also remember that a big source of growth for American whiskey is Eastern markets, Asian markets. And if this situation with Vladimir Putin continues to do what it's doing, it could very easily cause a disruption in that demand. Now, Japan's an ally. We're not going to sanction Japan, but if Japan's involved in any kind of conflict across the tiny little whatever with China, it's going to cause some problems with Japanese demand for American whiskey, and India as well as another growing consumer base. So I don't want to I don't really like appreciate fear mongering. So I don't want to like assume we're headed for World War III, but I would not invest. Granted, I don't have a ton of money to invest. I wouldn't invest in American whiskey right now. To me, it feels more risky than I think people give it credit for, because again,
but not as risky as the stock market today. So
well, I don't know why people were like, yeah, let's buy. Like it's been announced for the last month that Russia's going to invade Ukraine. And then people are like, oh crap, the stock market dropped. Like, well, yeah, of course it did. Like, we knew that was going to happen.
Thanks, Joe.
That's just to be clear. Russia invaded Ukraine. And I'm not sure that had. I don't think Joe had anything to do with that. Not that I'm Team Joe or Team Donald or any team. That's not really what this podcast is about. But I don't think it's our fault exactly. Okay. All right. Well, hopefully you guys who've jumped in, you've enjoyed this little
nice
introduction to global politics and economics.
Yeah, this is not a typical stream, but maybe it should be. We actually have some viewers now.
It's fun. Certainly it was fun. When I did say that there haven't been new breweries added to Milwaukee, Eric mentioned one very small one, so which is fine. But Eric's here just fact checking me. I guess that's why he's a wrench. Let me just scan some. I'm going to just take a quick breather. We've gone 15 minutes on this, and it's been great.
With inflation coming,
inflation
coming, if you guys don't mind just putting in there how much you would pay for a bottle of rare breed, like if you just go ahead and put the maximum amount you'd pay for a bottle of rare breed, just for us to get an understanding.
I will say, regardless of rare breed, I am nervous about inflation. Because we're a single income family, and like there are things that are going to impact this hobby outside of just our desire to drink bourbon. The economics certainly have an impact on our ability to drop $80 on a thing. I know, right? I mean, Porkins.
Thank you for not overpaying. Thank you for not overpaying, everybody.
Oh, I thought you were talking about just the general knowledge.
No, it's the chat. Here's the deal. I watch a couple of music reviewers. I watch some music reviewers on YouTube, and I don't know if they're on Twitch or what they're on, but sometimes when they're doing a live stream of their reaction to a song, they have a chat window on the top, and it's just blowing up. And I feel like right now we just had that moment with everybody chiming in the chat. Just go, it felt like that. It felt like that.
Yeah, you could basically do a live stream just reading the chat. So I feel like we're just a forum for communication, a gathering place for warmth and welcome. So one of the things I wanted to say at the start, actually, that I didn't say that I'll say now is this week sucked. Like, it's a weird week, a lot of anxiety. I mean, of course it's happening around the world, but I mean, World War II didn't start in our backyard either. So yeah, there's just a lot of like what ifs. Omicron's down, but then what about Omicron version 2? It's just like, gosh, can we just get a break for a dang second? And then we come on here and we just dork around talking about whiskey, which is fine, and I just want to say, yeah, if you guys are coming in and it's like, gosh, hopefully this is a good, like, just fun piece of banter. We're going to talk about whiskey a little bit, but I do want to own that, like, there's some serious stuff going on out there, and I'm coming in feeling good about, like, just getting to escape for a little bit, chat and have a good time and socialize with the nation and with good friends. That's it. So thank you all for being part of that. All right, let's get in the chat here. Any other questions on this topic or any other insights y'all are seeing? Have there been other products that have kind of vanished on y'all that you're like, what in the even heck? Where is this going? I guess that's where I'd like to go next, is what are the other products that y'all have seen kind of take a powder here? So many chats. Yeah, this. I had asked people what their budget pour was, and then Andrew said what's considered budget. So main reason me saying that is, should inflation step up? Again, this is slightly off topic, but it's just thrown out there. If you have to tighten the belt and you're going down, and you're like, in light of this topic, why are all the bourbons disappearing? With some things that maybe you have been going to disappearing. Your inaccessibility to some of these products. What are you going to? And or are you willing to admit it, knowing that now everyone in the chat will go out and buy it and it will disappear? So that's mainly a joke, but maybe not. We'll see. I wasn't listening to you.
Okay, no one ever does.
I was trying to catch up in the thread.
This guy.
That's a good one. Jeff throws out an interesting conversation.
What would have to happen financially? Could you guys give up bourbon?
Oh, that's a great question. Because I've thought about that. Like, what happens? Like, how long do we all do this? Tom, our boy Tom Lynch, he's not in the chat tonight because he's doing other things. I was like, that's interesting. Like, we got. The whiskey tube phenomenon took off in a moment where we all kind of struggled to do other things. And I was just wondering, like, does this new habit hold in days future? I've been talking a lot at work about, like, what happens next with masks and, like, how do we all socialize, if COVID does stay down and if it does stay, like, less of a significant health threat like it is right now, given Omicron's lack of severity. And I'm just like thinking about all the new habits we've formed, and Whiskeytube is one of those, like making videos, live streaming, people coming in to watch and gather in this way. Like, does that stay to the extent it has? I'm curious to know your thoughts on that too. Just feeding the chat, just like more bait. I do think
also,
it probably does.
if you guys own any cryptocurrency, go ahead and type out what cryptocurrency that you guys dabble in.
Yeah.
If you have any NFTs, let me know. If you guys have any NFTs, let me know the number of how many NFTs that you
own. Anyway, so my thought is generally, going back to your question, I'm just going to riff on that for a little while. What would happen for bourbon to change? Total freedom, being able to go anywhere without a mask, probably changes it to an extent. But also, financially speaking, like, we've just had it good from an economic standpoint in the United States for quite some time. 2008, 2009, not great. Housing bubble. You were heavily invested in properties. That wasn't great, but it's actually bounced back. So if you just held your property, you are made whole now. You are all better and then some. So I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing, but a housing bubble could cause significant problems. And then two, like global conflicts are never good. Pandemics are never good. But
Also,
I would
Ethan,
say
I don't
for
know if
me
you're- I don't know if
personally,
you're not. Sorry, Ethan did just chime in and said something about no condemnation for Russia. We did talk about that a little bit earlier.
we would very
I mean,
quickly
we're not like
condemn Russia.
yeah, we're not like giving Russia a slide in this at all. We're just trying to
Yeah.
to not continue to berate the topic that could be sensitive to people who
Anxiety.
are
Yeah.
in the chat, or fear mongering, as Drew would say. So
Correct. Yes. I mean, and I wouldn't condemn necessarily Russians. I understand from what I was reading earlier that many Russians are uncomfortable with what's happening, understandably. Would condemn Vladimir Putin himself very quickly because this seems just like pure insanity. But I'm not even going to say but honestly, I am not a global politics expert. Didn't even study political science in school. I took a class. And generally, I don't like politics. That's not really my thing. So, Russians seem very upset. That could be a joke. You could say that all the time, always.
yeah, I mean, their bobsledding team
from
didn't really do very good in the but
there's a great line in the movie Miracle. About the 1980 hockey team, gold medal, USA, Mike Eruzione, whole 9 yards there, where the U.S. team was like walking past the Russians, and somebody, and I forget who, said to somebody else, like, don't they ever smile? And then one of the other guys, it may have been O'Callahan, he said, they're Russians, they get shot if they smile. I just thought that was funny. I mean, that's generally the kind of persona we get, Russian culture. Speaking of Russian culture, because now we're all over the place. We'll get to some wild turkey stuff in a little bit, but that's the kind of stream this is right now. Did you watch The Queen's Gambit, Brian?
No.
Oh,
but we did
good.
finish Outlander for the third time. So that is what's consumed our entire existence for 5 years.
Are there Russians in that?
No.
Okay. All right. Well, there are some Russians in Queen's Gambit. Chess miniseries, Netflix. Really well made, strong production value. And the Russian stereotypes kind of that it holds up in that in that series, which granted, these are American interpretations of Russian culture. But everything we're given, everything we see about Russian culture that Russia shows us about itself kind of plays into it. I mean, you can see where the American interpretation is probably derivative of the real thing, like closely. Okay. You want to taste some turkey? Sort of? Well, I'll taste some turkey.
Go ahead.
We're going to let the chat keep rolling. And you guys are great. So the next phase, OCD Bourbon Bar sent me 3 samples, 2005, 2006, Russell's Reserve 10. And then hopefully, OCD, you're still in the chat because you need to tell me which one of these is which. We have the newest label of Wild Turkey 101 and then the previous label of Wild Turkey 101. I don't know which is which, but he had said, listen, I think there's a big difference here. And I said, well, that's interesting, man. He said, do you want to taste? I said, sure, that'd be great. These are always educational experiences. And certainly the nice thing, I don't know which one is which because there is a mental aspect in which a label change makes you think that the juice inside is going to be different. Like visuals just impact your perception and your brain doesn't necessarily can't necessarily remove the bias. Human brains are weird that way. So I'll also pour some of this Russell's. Kyle, thanks for shouting that out. Yeah, 200 people in the chat, again, or close to that at least. Stoked to have you all here, especially if you're new to the streams. Definitely hit like. I will pause for a minute. Brian's channel, Abandoned Bourbon, you should subscribe to that. There's a link down in the show notes below. Brian's new channel, 7th Tier, totally dedicated to 4 Roses.
You can put another link.
You guys should definitely check that out. And then you can subscribe to this channel, which is where we always do the lives. And I release new videos at least every Monday. Just generally about whiskey. I did why you should maybe buy less bourbon a few weeks ago. What did I do this last week? It was a fun one. Oh, it was like what I call a good bourbon. What makes a bourbon good?
And you had told me that you would like to see my list of that, and I was
I
contemplating
would.
that.
I would definitely like to see that.
Yeah, and then I went with, you know what? Let's read a Rose's bottle instead.
Which is fine. But I will say that I got a lot of comments from folks saying, we really like this topic. They thought it was really helpful. And so, like, because you do so many reviews, I think it would also help for people to know, like, oh, when you say it's good or bad, what do you mean? All right.
Yeah. So
I have sample A here and sample B, both these being the Turkey 101. I will review these aged in oil glasses kind of alongside of that. These are great for blinds, but these glasses are not great for nosing. For whatever reason, I just don't feel like there's enough space in there to really let it open up as much as I'd like. This one is nice. It's a little punchy, but big sweetness. Some citrus on the nose, too. Whereas this one, which is B, is a little bit more herbaceous and funky. It's not as inviting. Yeah. This may be a little fruitier, too, on A. So I'm liking A better based on the nose, and there does seem to be a difference there. I mean, it's not like a dramatically different product. Go ahead. I'll sip and then I'll chime in.
Well, while you're thinking, so Martin asking the questions that no one ever asks. Martin says, abandoned bourbon sounds like it's anti-bourbon, don't you think? So Martin, here's the deal. I have been using abandoned in front of any hobby that I've been getting into for the last 7 years. And it started with
abandoned coffee.
So I have abandoned coffee, I have abandoned chocolate, I have abandoned bourbon. What's up?
Yeah. I was just remembering La Santaville coffee.
La Santaville. So when I first started my Instagram when I was in coffee, it was La Santaville coffee. Me and my friend Matt were starting an account that was all about the coffee scene in Cincinnati, and it didn't quite go the direction that we wanted to, and so I switched it to abandoned coffee because it was always a goal of mine that I would start a coffee company. I don't ever talk about the story. It was that I would always start a coffee company called Abandoned Coffee because the point of hearing something like that seems very against what you're talking about. What is this place that seems to be against what it is? But also intentionally inside the building, we'd have an extensive training that talks about hospitality and meeting people where they are, and a ministry, if you will, for taking care of people and basically trying to support all people who are struggling with any sort of stronghold in their life. And it's about like abandoning all the things that hold and weigh you down.
I like this.
And so it's just kind of stuck with me because, everything graphically, I just thought of big words, abandoned coffee. And people are like, what is this? Why would I go to a coffee shop? Seems it's against coffee. But from a branding marketing standpoint, I thought it sounded kind of interesting. So anyway, I've just kind of stuck with abandoned whatever it is, and it never seems to make sense. But no one has ever questioned me until you tonight in 7 years. So thanks for bringing it up. I finally got to tell a story about it. But
I have a take. I have a take on it. I always thought of it in terms of like bourbon with abandon, which it doesn't say. But if you pursue something with abandon, it's like a hyper focus. It's to the exclusion of all else.
Plus, also when I just like move on to something else, like no one should be surprised, right?
Shout out Paul Graham here. Yeah, I told you I was gonna give it up.
I mean,
shout out Paul Graham with the super chat here. Thanks to y'all. If you want to support the channel, Paul. A couple ways you can do that. You can super chat like Paul, who is very cool, or you can you can send samples like Porkins does, like a bouse, or you can go to Entry Proof Podcast or patreon.com/Entry Proof Podcast. That's kind of what we call these live streams. We also actually have a podcast, which we want to release more of this content on there. But that's a way you can do it. And you'll also get swag if you do the Patreon thing. Okay, let's get back to these turkey samples because What I will say, I'm going to dive deeper on this next taste of these Wild Turkey samples, but these are not dramatically different to me. The nose on one was slightly sweeter, slightly fruitier. Nose on two, like I said, herbaceous, funky, maybe a little floral. Big caramel vibes, suggestion of peanut, cinnamon, some black pepper. Yeah, like a touch of orange, kind of orange zesty.
Night, Fred. Man, thanks for joining. Glad to see you tonight.
Yep. See you, bro. Have a good night. Two maybe just a touch more medicinal, but similar vibe. Caramely sweetness, peanut, suggestion, cinnamon, funky. Very difficult to discern between these two blind. That is, I'm going to come back to it in a little bit. I'm going to move to this Russell's, but that's my...
Terrence asking in which is which.
I'm not seeing a big change.
Glasses.
Yeah, so A is on the right, or your left maybe. I don't know if this is mirrored, but A is on this one. The one on this side is A, and then B is the one on this side. And A, the nose was slightly better to me, but the profile, palette, incredibly similar. All right. Russell's from 2005, 2006-ish. A little more oak on the nose. We like that. This is, I'm assuming, 90 proof, not a single barrel. It's a 10 year, so yeah, it's the 90 proof. Or was it 101 proof back then? Because there was a time, I think, where the 10 year was 101 proof. Is that correct? Am I wrong?
Say that one more time.
Why is that standing out? Was Russell's Reserve 10 year ever 101 proof? I want to say it was, but now I'm feeling like I'm wrong. Dang it. Well, it's a little oakier, a little sweeter. Get some honey. Not terribly complex, like straightforward. Maybe some dried fruit in the plum category.
Terrence, you were right. Kentucky Spirit is just Wild Turkey 101 single barrels. I don't know if they look for a specific, like something to differentiate them brand wise. Yeah, Kentucky Spirit slaps. I feel like there's not a lot of people who talk about it.
No, it slaps. It's good. Yeah, dude, I get a weird note on this. I get horseradish on the finish.
That is weird.
Horseradish. This is a bizarre pour. Totally different than anything I've had from Turkey. The oakiness is there, but it doesn't taste like, this syrupy, crushable profile that a lot of these Dusties have. Granted, this one's not super old. Let me hit this again. Gosh, that was weird. Hold, please.
Andrew Beck, as always, dropping the knowledge, saying Russell's Reserve was launched at 101 proof.
Heck yeah, I knew it. I didn't know it, but I thought it. The front on this is good.
All Kentucky Spirits are single barrels, though, correct?
That is correct, yes.
So Terrence is saying, is anyone blinded Kentucky Spirit with Wild Turkey 101? I think on average, you'll probably find the Kentucky Spirit maybe has some more clarity of flavor, but it's going to change from barrel to barrel. Wild Turkey 101 is going to be more consistent.
And what I've experienced with the Kentucky Spirit is it's a little less funky. It is more oaky. Like, I think that's an older product. I'm pretty sure they charge an arm and a leg for that. It's like $55.
Yeah.
So, it's not proofed up at all from Wild Turkey 101, but I think it's probably 4 years proofed up in terms of age, because I love that product, and it's not nearly so pedestrian as Wild Turkey 101. The finish on this is causing problems for me. The front is very welcoming, and you're stoked for what's coming next because it's oaky, it's accessible, but then it hits you in the back, and it's hot, and it's white pepper, and it's a little aspirin. So, yeah, I mean, not bad. any stretch, but I might like the 101 better than this Russell's. Now I got to compare these, but really interesting pour, and I'm stoked to have it because it tastes, again, completely different from the other Russells I've had, but I'm not like, I don't super love it. No judgment on OCD Bourbon Bar, who's a stud, but this is not as studly as he is. All right, come back to these 101s, then I'll hit the Russells again, and then we'll be done with this little comparison.
Also, while he's nosing this, if anyone still has a Steak and Shake operational in their area, go ahead and say, like, yeah, I Steak and Shake in the chat, because I'm curious where all Steak and Shakes are still existing. I was thinking about Steak and Shake chili tonight. So,
dude, I used to go to those. I would go to the Door in Dallas for shows. You know, see Amberlin, see Emery, see Copeland, and those guys, minus the Bear. And
yes.
Then we'd hit Steak and Shake on the way back to Wichita Falls. And yeah, I haven't been to Steak and Shake since I was.
Did you
like
Frisco
19,
melt? Did you get the Frisco melt though?
I don't know. It's so long ago.
You can't forget us. Just so you obviously didn't. You can't forget the Frisco
I get
melt.
really sleepy.
You can't forget a Frisco melt.
Delta Foxtrot whiskey. Shout out the Door.
This guy makes it seem like he wouldn't be able to remember what a Frisco melt is. Oh my gosh.
13 years ago.
It doesn't matter if it's 13 years ago. It's a Frisco melt. Jeez, Weasel Drew. They just opened one back up here in Louisville, so I need to go back over to it. Or maybe not. I mean, I'm kind of terrified, but I remember going
terrified
to a
it won't be as
shake.
good.
I remember going to a drive-through Steak and Shake off like Dixie Highway, which you're not familiar with that here in Louisville, but it's kind of like it's a little sketch, just a little sketch, a little trashier part of town, a little bit. And I remember seeing I don't know if you guys have like restaurant ratings, like the health ratings in your all's windows, but I remember it had a C rating. It had a C rating. It was in the 70s, and I was like,
that is not good.
I remember going.
It's hard. You have to work to get that low of a score.
I remember going. Might not be our best food experience that we're about to pick up. We still did it anyway. But I remember looking at it and saying, Dixie Highway Steak and Shake, you're probably going to be close in. So.
Yeah, that's not good. Okay, so I do have.
They advertised a C, man. I was surprised. I'm pretty sure a C means closure, but
pretty close.
It was there. It was
all right,
70, 79 maybe.
There's a point of differentiation here. A is less nutty, sour, mashy, funky. Like B is more of that, like it's got more bourbon note. I would prefer B in a cocktail because I think it's going to deliver. Not that they're good for cocktails, whatever. That's not what we're talking about. I'm saying if I was making a cocktail with this, I would want to go with B because it punches a little bit more. It's a little more full flavored. Whereas A, I mentioned it had like a fruity note to the nose that I liked. I think it's a little sweeter, but it doesn't have that nutty, punchy, funky, like sort of classic turkey. A, you could think that A was not Wild Turkey 101. It might fit more in like a Heaven Hill profile, but B's like, no, yeah, it's Turkey 101. So OCD, if you're still in the chat, which one is which? Which one is the brand new super sexy Wild Turkey 101 bottle? And which one is the previous iteration? Now, is that better or worse than this 2005, 2006 Russell's 10?
Oh my gosh, Martin's bringing out fighting words here.
I mean, in terms of what I think, I like the front on this Russell's 10 better. The finish is not good here, but the front is really nice. It's like, and then it's like a roller coaster that cranks you really high and then just makes you go backwards. Like it takes you up to the precipice and you're like, this is going to be awesome. And then they just slowly lower you back down.
Oh my gosh.
Are you guys arguing about fast food burgers?
Drew, are you team In-N-Out or team Whataburger?
Well, both have their merits. Let me be clear.
You got those Texas roots.
No, I said both have their merits, but I was going to say that In-N-Out animal style it removes any doubt or any like, oh, which one's better? Well, if you get an animal style, it's only In-N-Out. It's the only way you can go. We don't have either one here. in Wisconsin now. Culver's is fine, but it's not really the same in the same category. Five Guys is
Oh
a
my
good
gosh.
burger, but it's very expensive and their fries are just so greasy. But Five
You
Guys
guys are the
is
worst.
nice. It's just not unique.
I tried. So we lived really close when we were in Texas. I went to In-N-Out probably like 3 times a week, and we had a Whataburger. We had a Whataburger that was really close to us, and Kristen loved it. And I just always am fascinated by people who like Whataburger. And I remember going. I'm pretty sure I tried everything on the menu, and I found not a single thing that wasn't absolute garbage. So I'm just really curious about people who love Whataburger, like what it is that they like about it. But I won't lie. I mean, you guys are. To be fair, I always got my fries animal style. The In-N-Out fries are trash. So I mean, I will say that.
The finish on this Russell's 10 is so rough. It's so does not match the front. Yikes.
Does it taste like Steak and Shake fries? Does it taste like a Frisco Melt?
No, wait. So Steak and Shake fries have their merit. Let me make my case, okay? So if it's 1 o'clock and you just finished a show at the door, hypothetically speaking, the only time I've had these fries, there's those thin, crunchy ones, and the crunch is nice. You put a buttload of salt on that crap, and then I'm a big ketchup guy on my fries, so I'm talking like you squeeze that bottle out. Then you pick up like 4 of those fries, and you scoop like a tablespoon of ketchup, and then you pop that, and then you got the ketchup, you got the salt, you got the crunch. So it hits in that context. I'll say that. So I had fries recently that were pretty killer. Where were they from? Where was I eating at the time? Where was I? There's a brew pub locally. That's not what I was thinking of, but there is a brew pub locally that has some pretty amazeballs fries. For those of you in the Milwaukee area, Explorium. Their fries are pretty good.
Every time I eat at Culver's, Drew, I think about you while I'm eating my cheese curds.
Do you really? That's great. I'm glad.
Abandoned Whataburger. That's true. That's true, Andrew.
Eric, yeah, dude, I do remember the fries, but I do not remember the
right,
Frisco
Eric.
melt.
I mean, come on. The Frisco melt is iconic. That sauce.
Really, if you really want to get into it, it's because I don't eat a lot of like red meat because I have a very fragile digestive disposition, and I can get very uncomfortable very fast. Not that it's actually the opposite of what you think. I don't get the runs. I get clogged, and I get crampy.
Oh,
So
Deagle,
it's like,
dude, thanks for the super chat, but dude, always double cook the fries, man.
Yeah,
always
give me the crunchiest fries.
Give me the burntest fries.
Yes,
versus that limp stuff.
I completely agree. Yeah, if it wiggles, I'm out. Is anybody into the wiggly fry, the noodly fry? I can't imagine. Like that's like psychotic.
I mean, they're pretty good. Yeah. The noodly fries have their merit. I mean, I like to dip them in honey.
No, I'm out of noodly. I'm never into a noodly fry.
But
you would dip a noodly fry in honey from like where?
Oh, for sure. I'm loving how I mean, engagement is still like up here, but like engagement about politics in bourbon was like up here, and engagement about burgers is like engagement is high, but we lost 50 people who don't eat burgers.
It's the algorithm. No, it's definitely the algorithm in that like those who have stayed, who have had a couple, like we've had a couple pours at this point, it's go time when it comes to late night snacking. So you talk about burgers and like like I said, I totally bulked right before we like did this show. I was feeling queasy. I'm hungry now.
I need some food.
I want a burger. That'd be best probably not to crush
Let's
a burger.
Take the stream
right
on
now.
the road. Let's go to the GoPro and just hit up our local.
That would be if we were in person, we'd probably do that. And that would go down in the books as an all-time live stream. All right, it's 9:21, so we have plenty of time. Topics, questions, or we could even do the game. I can change the background. Yeah, I'm gonna go crazy here, and I'm gonna change the background.
Loving you like we're dancing in moonlight. Wanna waste our time in the moonlight. Wrap me up all night in the moonlight. Wanna waste.
Gosh, that's so loud. All right, brand new background. You name it, we review it. What do you guys want us to talk about? We can review burgers. We can review whiskeys. I've got plenty of bourbons behind me. Brian has plenty in his basement he can go get or talk about.
Isn't that what, I don't remember if you were there, but someone told me that's what I should do for a TikTok video, is that people just have me review random stuff. Maybe it was my boss. He's like, dude, I think we should have a segment of a TikTok where people just give you stuff to taste and you're blindfolded and you have to taste and you have to describe what it is in the way that you describe things. But it could be anything. He's like, it could be mustard, it could be soy sauce, it could be leather. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm in on that. Here for it. If
Jay, dude, I'm familiar with that keto vibe, dude. I made a keto pie 2 nights ago.
I've read things about keto. I'm out on it as a philosophy, generally. I'm an all things in moderation kind of guy. I'm also not a dieter, so take what I say with a grain of salt or a grain of burger.
Oh, Jimmy's
grain of something.
Jimmy's already hitting off with a good question, man.
Let's do it. Minnick rated Russell's Reserve 13 number 1. What are your thoughts? Well, I had a video where I talked about my top whiskeys of the last year. And the more I talk about Russell's 13, the more I find a disparity of opinion about it. Like that people disagree a lot on Russell's 13. I was in on it. I disagree with Fred a lot. I'd really like to meet him because there's a lot I'd like to talk to him about. I plan one day to do a video. What's the deal with Fred Minnick? But only after I've spoken with the man, because it'd be inappropriate probably to talk about him without speaking to him. But I totally agreed with him on Russell's 13. But I've talked to many people who are like, no, it was fine or it was average. I've had Russell's Reserve single barrels that are better. I have 2 killer Russell's Reserve single barrels. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'll taste those up against the Russell's 13. Could do that if we wanted tonight. Anyway,
so
in short,
I agreed.
Video. I liked it, but
I did a video where I took some of my favorite Russells that I had and I put them in a tasting with Russell's 13, and I don't think any of them beat it. But that's always been my question. I don't want to say that anyone's wrong who says that. Just when they're like, dude, I've had so many Russell's picks that have been better than 13. I'm like literally let me try them. I'd be so down.
Prove it.
I'd be so down. Like I'd be so stoked on Russell's if that's the case. And I've had some really good ones, but I haven't had any that had the flavor profile of the Russell's 13. But to the question you actually asked, I think it came. I think it actually came third in my list. But that's just because I am.
Your access supersedes mine.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of King of Kentucky.
Yeah.
I had it. I have one. It was fantastic. And then the 20-year Four Roses, which you actually got to try. You don't have that sample, but in your mind, from trying that with the Michter's 20, you still would say that you would put the Russell's 13 over it.
Over the Four Roses 20. Well, I hadn't had that before I made the video. That's a tough call. I'd have to have the Russell's.
Yeah, I'm just asking you that kind of now, knowing that you can't taste them both.
I mean, it was really good, dude. That was a really exceptional pour. I mean, Michter's 21, it beat out Four Roses 20. So the Michter's 20, maybe that was last year, that would probably beat out the Russell's 13 too. Let me just taste it. Let me get a little Russell's 13 here. Let me pour a little bit, I guess. While I do this, hard left turn, and I'll try and say what I picked, the Four Roses 20 based off memory or the Russell's 13. I was at a bar a couple days ago for a little work meeting, and they have a good whiskey selection, and they had Coy Hill there, and I was like, hey, that Coy Hill, how much for a pour of that? And it's like 1.5 ounce pours, so 35. I didn't, but they also had the Jack 10, and I said, how about that one? Because on your dang menu it says $14, and they're like, no, it's 45. But on your menu it says $14. Can I have it for 14? And they said no. I thought that was pretty rude. But like,
It is a little
so
rude.
Coy Hill at 35, reasonable. Too high for my blood, too expensive. A little bit money grubbing. But the Jack 10 at 45 is bat crazy. Like, that feels to me like people are sniffing glue. Did you have the Jack 10, Brian? Were you able to try that one?
No, I'm not.
I was not. I haven't tried it either. That's why I wanted to try it at $14, not at 45.
Oh my gosh, the real Tom Lynch is here. Holy my gosh, Tom. Fantastic to see you here, sir.
Brian, this Russell's 13 is so good.
It is
I'd
so
have
good.
to taste that four roses next to it. It's in the category. I mean, this is an exceptional whiskey.
It's exceptional. It's good.
Yeah.
It's good. Big good.
Is
goodness.
Coy Hill worth it? Ethan, well, we're about to rant and rave like lunatics here. Is Coy Hill worth it? It's really
worth
good.
what?
I don't. Worth what? But it's fantastic. I mean,
worth retail, absolutely. I mean, Coy, to be honest, at its retail price, gosh, Coy Hill and Russell's 13 go neck to neck on what was better. But Coy Hill was,
I agree with
an
that.
amazing product last year.
Yeah, I completely
175,
agree. And I do think it's probably
175,
close to Russell's 13.
I personally would buy Coy Hill at 175.
Based on having tasted it, I would also do that.
Coy Hill is like the not King of Kentucky. I would put Coy Hill against Birthday Bourbon. I think it could lose. They're different, but there's a lot of similarities. I think Coy Hill was awesome.
Based on the general profile of Birthday Bourbon, I like Coy Hill better.
Where did I put it in my list? 4, maybe? I might have put Coy Hill right behind Russell's, which was behind Four Roses, which was behind King.
Right. Of course.
It's good, dude. I can get it, but I don't know about that price. Dude, Coy Hill's solid. They're single barrel, so, take it with a grain of salt. But the ones that I've had have just been, they're high proof, but they don't taste it, but they just have so much flavor. So it's
Martin, good call. Good call there. It ain't worth that.
No.
Yeah, I just had one sample. Just one. I was gifted.
Cheers, Tim.
One,
good night, dude. Thanks for tuning in for, the show.
Good night, Tim. So I had one sample of Coy Hill. It was absolute fire, and I'm with you. Probably 175. I'm in north of 200. It's hard to buy anything. Friend of mine said there was actually a cigar blend, Magnus, which I love that whiskey. It was available around town, so it was somewhere for like $275 or $250 or something. And I was like, that is tough because I love that whiskey, but that's so much money. And I'm on the freeze, so that kind of was the deal breaker. It's like, I guess I'm not gonna go pick it up. But yeah, I mean, if I was in the store myself staring at it, I would stare pretty hard. I would get a little excited, but then depressed at the same time. And then I'd probably walk out without it. But yeah, I definitely think. Have you had Magnus cigar blend ever?
No,
tried it?
Dude.
Yeah,
I couldn't even
worth
tell
it,
you if
worth
I've had
trying.
Magnus at all. Maybe
Magnus
one.
is fine. Magnus is fine. The cigar blend though was a whole other level.
Andrew's not a fan of the tops.
Andrew, dude. So
here's the funny thing. I remember telling you, I'm like, dude, I'm never gonna make one of these lists. Why would I do it? But you know what? People wanted them, and I taste stuff anyway.
True.
That's just all I do is taste. So,
and one of the things I was gonna say to Andrew is, dude, if you didn't watch, you should check out my list, which was generally accessible whiskeys, or at least different whiskeys, because my access tends to be more limited. So I only said the things that I think I had bottles of, really. Versus, like tastes. And generally, I don't have that many crazy tastes of the Mondo whiskeys. So, Porkins is like, Magnus cigar blend, MSRP less than 200. Yes, it is. Porkins, this was priced above secondary for sure. Murray Hill, I've not had that. Terrence, thank you for asking, but I can't help you there. Coy Hill is a solid 1K. Is that the secondary value on that right now? Is that really it? Oh my gosh. Is that a thing? Somebody said Coy Hill was $1,000.
I don't know. I
Is that
haven't
what
seen
it
one
is
in a
on
while.
secondary? Brian, we can point people to the direction of the Seagrass video we did here.
Sure.
As Matt says, Seagrass topped a bunch of lists, and it did. And Sawyer, aka Loveface, aka Tomlin Stand-In, is also a Seagrass fan. I'm not. I thought it was fine. I thought standard Seagrass was good. I thought it was fine. I did not think it was worth the hype it was getting. Like number 2 American whiskeys, like get out of here. It's no. I mean, for me, no. Like if your palate matches, if you're like, yeah, I think, Drew and I really, there's a lot of consensus in our flavor profiles. Well, no, on Seagrass. That's I've seen it several times since we've tasted it around, and I'm like, well, should I get it?
In the morning, Tom.
People love it, and I'm like, no, I'm not gonna get it. Tom, see you, dude. Thanks for stopping in. Appreciate you.
Tom will hopefully be at the cafe bright and early in the morning.
Joseph Gertz. I think that's how you say your name, Joseph. Did you guys get to try Bardstown the Prisoner? I have it right up there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It is Dickel heavy. It's sweet and it is fruity. It's very
That was batch 2
wine-forward.
Prisoner though, right? Or was it the only one?
That is correct. Yes. The Prisoner that I have is batch 2. And I like it okay. I'll just say that the Dickel is evident. But it's also well aged, so there's some oak in there. It's viscous, it's juicy. So if you're super sensitive to the orangey vitamin E essence, that might be a bit of a turn off. But I'll go to this when I want that big winey note. I've had it for a while. I've got plenty of it left. It'll be probably something I take to whiskey nights or whatever. Probably not worth 125 or 130. Yeah. I'm out at MSRP again. I wouldn't buy it again for probably more than $70. I think it's like a $70 whiskey, not a $130 whiskey. So much good content in the chat, you all.
This Peb 86 picked up Buffalo Trace
new guy,
dude. I love that.
What
stuff.
is that?
There's a lot of really good.
The bourbon cream. The bourbon cream.
I like
yeah,
the
that's
bourbon
fantastic.
creams.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other places that make really good. Barton makes a really good chocolate bourbon ball liqueur as well. Other people are talking in the chat. We haven't really addressed it. People have been talking about Knob Creek 15 versus Knob Creek 12. Hold on. What was the initial question? Someone asked the initial question about if it's worth it.
What's it worth to you?
Another person, Jimmy the Kid, also way back asked Stagg 16 or 17.
Yeah, I remember seeing that. I haven't had them. I've got Stagg. No, maybe somebody's sending me 16 and 17. Somebody's sending me 2 different Stagg samples. And so you may see that sooner rather than later. I know I'm getting at least 17, and then I have 14 open. So maybe it's 16 and 17 that I'm getting sent. And I'll do a video on those and probably taste them up against 14. So just hold your.
I remember being at the bar and trying one of them, and I don't remember if it was 16 or 17, but I remember thinking it was really good. I want to say I tried 16 and 17, liked them both, but I don't know if I had a clear winner of them. I know that Dara did a tasting. I thought she had 16 and 17 on with like 13, maybe. But I don't have a lot of Stagg Juniors, to be honest with you. To be honest, here in Louisville, of all the things I can find, I'm never the right place to find Staggs. And so I stopped drinking Stagg Junior like 4 years ago. And I've not been able to keep up with it since it's been, people saying it's like really, really good. Batch 12 or whatever. I think that's the one. I'm like, I'd like to try that to see, what a amazing Stagg batch has been. But some of the more recent ones I've tried one of them or 2 of them and been like, oh, like this is enjoyable. I wish I'd keep up with it. I've had a couple of store picks that have been kind of nice, but yeah, I kind of wish I'd be able to do like a 12 to 18 blind flight or something like that. That'd be cool.
Yeah, well, wouldn't we all? I mean, I do have
yes
at some point.
So
one day,
highlight this one. Highlight this one. Andrew saying, "Are they dropping the junior from the Stagg Junior?" They are.
I did hear that. Yeah.
They are, in 2 stores in Louisville have gotten their pick in this week, and both of them have the junior off of it. So Kroger and Liquor Barn both have their pick in, and both of them just say Stagg.
That's interesting. You just wonder where we headed. What does that mean?
Well, I mean, it's gotta be removing George T. Stagg to me. Like,
you think that it's leaving the antique collection?
I don't think we'll see it. I don't think we'll see it again.
Get out. Really?
That's a low key. That's just one of my thoughts. Hot takes.
Wow. I mean, that is a hot take, because I think you can have Stagg and George T. Stagg. Maybe they thought like Stagg Junior made it sound. I don't know.
What's the point of dropping Junior? Like,
yeah. I mean, maybe they felt like it's marketing, right? Maybe they just felt like Junior signaled youth, and so it's a young whiskey, which it's not. It's younger, but it's not young. Still has plenty of age profile on it. Going back to Dara, the average drinker, real quick. I've been working on an impression, but I'm not going to do it. Like at this point, there's not many channels led by women out there, so I think that's worth celebrating. But at some point, if we become friends with her, then I will do a impression.
Brian Mack, I did not.
I just teased that.
I'm going to respond to you here and say, I wish. No, I didn't, dude. There's some places, there are some things I'm able to get stuff like this where you have to have connections. I didn't. Well, the one I really wish I had, because I've tried on a number of occasions, the Cox's pick was just so different in profile to me, and I loved it. And I wish I could find one. I never did. I've tried to trade for one, can't get it. And with this Liquor Barn, I really wanted to try and find one, but if there's anyone who's not drinking it, they're flipping it for ridiculous amounts of money because it doesn't have Junior on the name. So it's Tony. I don't think that they jacked up the price. I mean, dude, I have seen people trade them for Weller single barrels. I've seen people trade them for the Parker's Heritage Heavy Char Wheat. Some people are trying to trade it for a George T. Stagg straight up. People are asking for ridiculous stuff for this Stagg Junior pick that's got no Junior in the name.
Hashtag Tater Nation. I mean, that's an indication to me that we've jumped it, peeps. Let's just dial it back. If you get one of these picks, just get it. Okay? And granted, if there's something you want, I understand wanting to go get it. But this just feels crazy. What I love about these Thursday things is we bull crap and talk about whiskey for a while, and that's fun. But it's exhausting sometimes, too.
Patrick coming in late with the question about the topic for tonight. Anyone know if it really is a Glass Shorts Spectrum Rare Breed or just getting popular? Probably combination. Probably a combination plus stuff that we don't actually understand internally. We did talk about that in the first hour. If you catch the replay, I know
specifically that product,
but we did talk about that.
I mean, the banner that we have up now, we did not have at the time. It's been we took a hard left turn at about an hour in, and we're just having good times now. Yeah, I'm with Coots here more and more. I don't want to sound like, a boomer. No offense, boomers. I mean the stereotypical boomer. I know we have a lot of boomers in the channel. That was offensive, and I apologize. I don't want to sound like somebody who just holds an opinion without thinking it through. But I will say, from my own particular whiskey experience, I just want to drink the whiskey that I get. I know which whiskeys I want to get, and I'm going to get those, and then I'm going to drink them. There's just a simplicity to that. Now I feel really bad. I got to say, I feel super bad because the stereotypical use of boomer. It was the meme use of boomer, and no offense was meant by it. But I do feel I got that tinge you get, when you're like, I think I might have just offended somebody just trying to be funny, and that was inappropriate. So I'll just leave it there. Say I'm sorry. My bad. We'll move on. But Hamilton agreed. So the one thing I will say too, though, is I don't I've got some buddies too. If there's a particular product I really wanted to get, I would, and I had something that I liked, then I would trade it, with my buddies, and I'm fine with that. Ethan C. Comedy has no boundaries. Correct. If you're doing comedy and it's clear that that's what you're doing. If you're talking about whiskey, and you're just talking about whiskey, then you could come across as inappropriate, and that would not be good.
Drew, Seagrass versus Midwinter Night's Dram.
Dude, that's tough. Both are good, and both are underwhelming against the hype. I have Midwinter Night's Dram. I've had it a couple times. It's very port heavy and thus delicious, as port is. It's syrupy. It's grape juice with some rye spice and some citrus. So there's a lot to like there. But at the same time, I want more like a mature whiskey that's finished versus a finished whiskey that is a finished whiskey. And that to me is what Midwinter Night is it's a lot of port with a good rye instead of a little port with a great rye. To me, like the Madeira finished Willet is a little Madeira with a great rye versus a lot of X product. So anyway, I think I would take Midwinter Night's Dram over Seagrass, though, if you shot me in the face. Or you were going to shoot me in the face. Is Midwinter Night's Dram worth $200? No. My take is absolutely not. It's good, but it's probably not worth $200. So I hope you like it, though. No regrets. Andrew Surfling says, how long
Cheers,
to finish
Wayne.
a bottle
Thanks for
after
tuning in.
it's popped? See you, Wayne. This totally varies from person to person. I've had bottles open for 2 years, no problems. So what I would say is I would get concerned about oxidation if like there wasn't much left in the bottle. So one thing I did with a couple bottles that were near the end is I moved the juice into sample bottles where there wasn't as much air exposure. So like that's what can get your whiskey light, maybe a little bit, but if you store it in a good place, a cool place, just keep the air exposure down. So keep it in a smaller vessel, airtight. Cork is a problem because it's not always airtight. So that's how you can get into an issue there. Eric Sawyer loves Seagrass. We know, Eric, and we love you, but we don't love Seagrass. New Riff 6-year malted rye. Did it hit Wisconsin? I have not seen it. Granted, I haven't been in a ton of places, and I've not had it. So, great question. Have you had the 6-year malted rye from New Riff, Brian?
Yeah, dude. It's awesome.
You trading Bitcoin right now?
No, I just opened my phone and saw a picture that somebody had. It's a store pick from Boone County, a cast strength 15-year-old. And I'm like, What? Haven't seen that in a hot minute. So
yeah, they were releasing those a while ago. Who got this and how?
It's from Jeff Ruby's, and we have a Jeff Ruby's in Louisville. So now I'm like, should I be reaching out to you? Your camera's fading.
I know it is. Is this a recent drop or is this an old timey?
I'm not sure. I'm gonna have to like message my guy and say,
your bro, your dude. Lot of chat. Mike D says, fan of Widow Jane, had it last week for the first time with no expectations and was blown away. Widow Jane is, I have experienced, like the reputation is, it's meh, but I know people who really like it. And I had the standard one and it was fine. It was a while ago. And then I had the Decadence, was the maple finished one. And that was delicious. Granted, I have also put high quality maple syrup just in my bourbon periodically, which if you just ever want a desserty bourbon, pour yourself some rare breed or, maybe a batch of Elijah Craig you didn't like too much, barrel proof, and add a little maple syrup. And oh my gosh, that's a winner. So it's just a recipe for success. Like a honey barrel finished whiskey too is like, well, you can't go wrong with that. All right, you talk. I'm going to
well, Broken Cork Studio said, sorry for taking it back a bit, but if George C. Stagg does in fact leave the antique collection, do you feel something else could step up to take his place? I mean, honestly, I mentioned this on another one before. I mean, I think if you were to tell me that Blanton Straight from the Barrel was a Buffalo Trace antique product, if you were to tell anyone that, I think they'd automatically start paying hundreds of dollars more for it. And they'd be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. So like, I mean, yeah, you could do something E.H. Taylor. Probably. I don't know exactly what it would be. I think Blanton Straight from the Barrel hits the flavor range, considering you have a SAS 18.
Old enough.
Well, considering you have a SAS 18 and you have a Thomas H. Handy, I'm surprised you don't have a George T. Stagg and a Blanton's straight from the barrel, uncut, unfiltered. Like, you have that, and it would make sense, and it would soften the blow when or if George T. Stagg leaves. I mean, I'm probably wrong, but with everything that it seemed like people were talking about on the marketing side of kudos to Buffalo Trace and the transparency, and they just didn't. I mean, like, to me, I just smell BS. Like, all the things they're talking about were like the fact that you got 2 weeks before it's supposed to come out, and all of a sudden it didn't work. Like, you knew about this a year ago.
Well, I mean, it's when they dropped their press release. Well, yeah, but they're not going to tell you until the press release. There's no reason to tell you.
I get that, but what I'm saying is, I don't think that it sets a precedent. If you skip it 1 year, you could skip it as many years as you want.
Of course. I don't think they're going to do that, though. I think that we'll see George T. Stagg back, and I don't think the Stagg Jr. I think the Stagg Jr. drop is probably more related to the branding of Stagg Jr. than it is related to the presence or absence of George T. Stagg. Ow.
Blatant, straight from the barrel. Buffalo Trace Antique Collection. 2022. Calling it. Hot take.
All right. Dustin C. has a take here, which each Taylor barrel proof rye is going to be a hitter. I mean, it very well could be. I'd love to get a bottle of E.H. Taylor barrel proof just bourbon because I really, really like that one. That's a good one. I mean, but to me, it was not too dissimilar from Stagg Jr., just tasting it on its own in isolation. So I'd have to actually do a side-by-side.
Yeah, they've done that with the Van Winkle rye previously, too. Like, they skipped it this year, and in years past, they've sent the same year as the year before. So they've definitely missed the Van Winkle 13 year a couple of times. So you were right in that. I just feel like it's stranger to – it's just strange. It's just strange. I think it just sets us up as a precedent.
Jimmy the Kid, Stagg Jr., no comparison to George T. Stagg-ish. So I'm going to come around on something because time is helpful. Same reason I came around on Dickel 15 to the negative. But the only George T. Stagg I had was that 2019. And initially I was fine with it. I enjoyed it. I was still fine with it. But it's kind of a bummer that was the only George T. Stagg that I've had. Because I have this Stagg Jr. 14 batch, which is good, but it's not even, the most glorious Stagg Jr. batches that there are, apparently. And I think I like the Stagg Jr. better. Like, it was hard for me to say that, but that George T. Stagg 2019, the low proof one, was good. It was really good whiskey. But, even relative to some other far less expensive whiskeys, based on secondary value at least, it left some to be desired. That said, I would say that people's general consensus would be that George T. Stagg is better than Stagg Jr. It's much older, sometimes higher proof. So that's it. Did Jay Coots say something? I see somebody threw out Tater Nation on here. I'm not sure how or why. Anyway, I'm out. That's all I got for tonight. Any parting thoughts? Any final topics we should hit before we sign out? Brian, I'm asking you. That's a question.
Oh, I thought you were throwing out to the chat. No, I mean, if anyone finds themselves bored on a Friday night, you can catch me and Perry and Bourbon Bites and ADHD Whiskey on the ADHD Whiskey channel for the kickoff of tomorrow, for the kickoff of Matt Madness.
All right. Sick. Yeah, Matt did what I thought was noble, and he did that random drawing. And I was stoked to see you get in. So Godspeed. I hope you crush. All right, squad, we're going to hang it up there. Brian, the Driftless Glen pick is moving forward, so I need you to send me some dates that would work for you. Andrew Surfling with a fire super chat here. $5 to make at abandoned love face. This is a deep cut and it's good. I like it a lot. But y'all, thanks for tuning in for the chat. We were all over the place tonight, but I feel like it was for the best. It was a lot of fun. Good way to end the Thursday on a solid note. Always stoked to hang out with you guys. And like I said earlier, Mondays you can tune into this channel for a new video, either going deep on some brand or just sharing some thoughts I have about whiskey. Brian's new videos drop on Tuesdays. Now we have the brand new channel as well, chronicling Four Roses, and that is the 7th tier channel. So make sure you give all those a follow so you don't miss anything. And we'll catch you back here next Thursday. Until then, you beautiful people, why don't you just keep it neat?
Cheers, everybody.
Love that you like. We're dancing in